The Black Death was one of the worst diseases in human history. It was a plague that killed millions of people in Europe, Asia, and Africa during the 14th century. The plague arrived in Europe in 1347. It spread quickly from person to person. The Black Death was terrifying. People died quickly and painfully. The plague changed how people lived and thought. It affected everything from daily life to the economy. The Black Death is a crucial part of history. It shows how vulnerable humans are to disease. It also demonstrates how societies can collapse and rebuild after disaster. We can learn a lot from studying the Black Death. It teaches us about medicine, public health, and the human condition. The Black Death is a dark but important part of our past. The Black Death most likely began in Central Asia. It traveled along trade routes. The Silk Road was a major pathway for the disease. This network of routes connected the East with the West. Fleas on rats carried the plague. These rats traveled on ships and caravans. They spread the disease to new areas. The plague spread quickly in crowded cities. The Black Death first reached Europe through trading ports. It arrived in Constantinople in 1347. From there it spread to Italy, France, England, and beyond. Within a few years, the plague had reached most of Europe. The speed of its spread was alarming. The Black Death was a horrifying disease. It caused severe symptoms. People experienced high fevers, chills, and weakness. Painful swellings called buboes appeared in the groin, neck, and armpits. The plague attacked the lymphatic system. This system helps the body fight infection. Victims often coughed up blood. They experienced extreme pain and delirium. Death often occurred within days of the first symptoms. There was no cure for the Black Death. Doctors at the time didn't understand what caused it. They tried different treatments, but nothing worked reliably. The Black Death turned cities into places of fear and death. The sick were often abandoned. Bodies piled up in the streets. The stench of decay filled the air. People were terrified of catching the plague. They avoided contact with others. Many fled the cities, hoping to escape the disease. Quarantine measures were put in place, but they were often ineffective. Religious practices increased. People believed the plague was a punishment from God. They turned to prayer and penance, seeking forgiveness and protection. The Black Death had a devastating impact on the economy. With so many people dying, trade and commerce collapsed. Farms were abandoned. Food shortages became common. The plague led to labor shortages. With fewer workers, wages rose. Landowners struggled to find people to work their land. Governments struggled to maintain order. Tax revenues plummeted. Social unrest increased as people grew desperate. The Black Death killed millions of people in Europe. Some estimates suggest that 1/3 of the population died. The loss of life was staggering. The plague had a profound impact on society. The social order was disrupted. The power of the church was questioned as people lost faith in traditional institutions. The plague led to changes in art and literature. Themes of death and decay became prominent. The experience of the plague was reflected in the cultural output of the time. People in the 14th century didn't understand what caused the Black Death. They didn't know how to treat it effectively. They tried various methods to stop the plague's spread. Some believed the plague was spread through bad air. They burned incense and used perfumes to purify the air. Others blamed foreigners or marginalized groups, leading to persecution and violence. Quarantine measures were implemented. Ships arriving from infected areas were isolated. People suspected of having the plague were confined to their homes. The Black Death had a lasting impact on Europe. The population decline led to changes in land use and agriculture. With fewer people to work the land, wages rose. The plague also contributed to the decline of feudalism. Feudalism was a system where peasants worked the land for lords in exchange for protection. With a shortage of labor, peasants had more bargaining power. The Black Death led to advancements in medicine. People began to understand the importance of hygiene and sanitation. The search for cures and treatments continued. The Black Death is a reminder of the devastating power of disease. It teaches us about the importance of public health and scientific understanding. The Black Death also shows us how societies respond to crises. It highlights the resilience of the human spirit in the face of adversity. By studying the Black Death, we can learn from the past and prepare for the future. We can develop better strategies to prevent and control pandemics. The Black Death, though a tragic event, offers valuable lessons for humanity.